Good morning, class. So, myself, Dr. Devlina Bhattacharya, and I will be teaching you the environmental science. Your subject code is 04BE0141. So, my cabin location, my mail ID, everything is given in the slide. So, these will be, if you require my mail ID, you can get it from here. You require my location, it is given out here. And today we will be studying about the environmental science. The Before going divulging into the subject, let me give a clear idea about why we are studying this subject. What is the objective of this subject? So, when we study the environmental science, it is the scientific study of the environmental system and the status of its inherent or induced changes on organisms. So, we are living in an environment where we are facing the changes and the status that we are imbibing or the inheritance that we are having and what are the impacts that is having on ourselves, it gives a clear idea. So the physical, the biological characters of the environment, also the social and the cultural impacts on the man, on the environment. So these subjects give you a clear idea that how your environment is impacting you. So this course will have some outcomes, and these are the outcomes that we have defined. It will create the awareness for the environmental problems among all the learners who will be studying the subject. It will impart a basic knowledge about the environment and its allied problems. What are the problems that we are facing pertaining to the environment? And it will develop an attitude of concern for the environment. It will motivate the learners to participate in environmental protection as well as environmental improvement. So it will also help or acquire the skills to help the concerned individual in identifying and solving the environmental problems. So then it will help to attain harmony with the nature. So all these are the course outcomes that has been defined for a particular course of environmental science. So the teaching and examination scheme is also mentioned out here. Here, this particular subjects, it is of 3 credits, and yes, it is your ESC, your IA, and your CSC components are given. You don't have a Viva or a term work for particular this subject. And yes, the CSC, we will be discussing about the CSC further because it is the rubrics planning that you will be getting the consolidated 20 marks that you will be gaining. It can be a project, it can be for project-based outcome study or a case study or a PPT. But for your particular course, we will have an assignments out there. I will give you the assignments in your portal out there where from you can download it and you can write about the questions. You can answer those questions and you can write the problems that are being asked in that particular questions. Let's get started with the subject. So unit 1, it is about the introduction and ecology and population as well as environment. Before diverging further into the unit 1, anyone have any questions pertaining to the teaching one, means the examination scheme and all that? Anyone have any questions pertaining to this? Okay. So it will be the 50 marks that has been allocated. It will be based on your final exams that you will be having. IA is your mid-semester exams. That is your 30 marks. So you have to score accordingly for all these components, right? So try to score maximum because this is such a subject that is, you will get the marks if you pay the maximum attention in the class itself. So as I mentioned in the unit 1, we will be studying about the environment, the ecology, the ecosystem. Then further we will be studying about the population and the environment. What are the factors that affect the human settlement? Why the human settlement is impacted? Or why there is a particular area that where we find more population is gathering or there is a community development or a human settlement is more. We have to define about the overpopulation and what are the causes of overpopulation. We have to define that also. What are the effects of environment and how we can control it. Then we will be studying about the forecasting one of your population, how we forecast this next 10 years of your population, and what are the chances that there will be, though there will be some discrepancy, like there will be fluctuations out there in the population, but still there is a consolidated data that we get with some of the statistical analysis. I will show you also. Then we have the governmental bodies for the environmental protection. What are the governmental bodies that you should be knowing, the names of which you should be knowing for understanding about the environmental protection? So first thing first, when I ask about the environment, what comes to your mind? It is the surrounding. Yes, the surrounding that shapes us. An ecosystem to all the living and the non-living present in the environment and its foundation of the biosphere, which determines the health of the entire planet Earth. So your environment actually, it defines the surroundings, and it came from the French word means environ. So when we are talking about environment, it talks about everything. It talks about the living aspects also, the non-living aspects also. So non-living aspects, you can say the soil, the water, the animals, the soil, the water, or the sunlight. These are all the non-living. And living one is the animals and the plants, which they adapt themselves to the surroundings. So we can say that living organisms are the one which cannot stay without these non-living components. So it is the nature gifts that help us nourishing the life on the earth. So we can say that overall that environment is a surrounding that help us to adapt to the changes, or we can say that both everything that is around us, both whether it is living or it is non-living. The other names of your living and non-living is your biotic components and the abiotic components. When we say the biotic components, we mention about all the living things out there, the plants, the animals, the humans, all the living entities out there. When we are talking about the non-living environment or the abiotic one, we are talking about the soil, we are talking about the water, the sunlight, and these the resources out there. Yes, we require all this non-living component or the abiotic component to sustain our life on Earth. So if we go further into the definition of environment, it is a combination of various physical and biological elements that affect the life of an organism. So the components of environment, yes, physical, biological, and cultural. When we are talking about physical, we are concentrating on the atmosphere, hydrosphere, lithosphere. When we are talking about the biological one, we are concentrating on the abiotic and the biotic factors. Again, the biotic factors are further divided into producers, the consumers, the decomposers. So when we are talking about the producers, these are the one that is taking the help of the abiotic factors like sunlight, making the food, and that thereby they are producing the food for the consumers. The consumers consist of your plant, of your animals, of the humans. So we are the consumers out here. So yes, the grass, if it is a producer out there, and it is eaten by the herbivores or the goats or the cows. So they are further, their products are eaten by us, or sometimes they are then the consumers also, means it can be a primary consumer, it can be a secondary consumer, it can be a tertiary consumer. So we will be coming to that also. And the decomposer, when we are talking about the decomposer, they played a very integral part in our environment, because without the decomposers, all the degradation that is happening, biodegradation that is happening, would not have been possible. Then atmosphere, when we are talking about atmosphere, we are talking about the gaseous presence in our environment. what are the major gases that we have. And when we are talking about hydrosphere, we are talking about the water content around the earth. When we are talking about lithosphere, it is the land we are talking about, or the soil, that the components of the soil that we are talking about.